crazy. So here's the thing.
Go ahead.
You beat good teams, you move up. You lose the good teams, you move down. Like, it ain't hard to figure out.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with me today, my tag team partner, still celebrating Black History Month. Here are all the black tag teams, and notice you'll hear several names more than once in the history of wrestling. The Tony Atlas to my Skip Young, Sweet Brown Sugar himself, the icon, the showstopper, the main event, and the reason why we are here, Coach Mike Francis. And Coach, it's Throwdown Thursday, and you're going to be angry with me in segment one because there are early NCAA tournament bracket predictions, and they're not going to make sense to a lot of people except a guy like me who pays attention. But how are you today, buddy?
I'm well, sir. I'm well. Thank you very much.
All right, fans. So the top 16 seeds as of this taping, according to the NCAA, they only do this once. So now for the next 3 weeks, we got to project and predict and make all kinds of allegations and whatever. But Alabama is the number one overall seed in the NCAA tournament. On line one, you have Alabama as the number one overall seed, Houston, Purdue, and Kansas. Let me tell you about the committee chair, Chris Reynolds, and what he said. Nope.
Excuse me, sir. You do know we talking about basketball, right?
Yes, we are talking about basketball.
Okay.
All right. So on Alabama, committee chair Chris Reynolds says, and I quote, Mike, on the stretch of 13 wins in the quad one, they have a very strong resume, and that win over Houston put them over the top. Reynolds also pointed out that the Jayhawks' 12 quad one victories, by far the most in the country, and their number one strength of schedule are factors that put them on the top line. Mike, any thoughts about the current number one seeds? And yes, it's going to change, but notice the verbiage that I'm using. The floor is yours, my friend.
I think that I hate this line things. You know, and you in this damn quad one, quad
what do
two.
You mean? I'm telling you how they pick it.
I know what it is.
They pick it. They pick it that way.
I don't want to hear it. Like, it ain't no quad. Like, you don't have to come up with these. I think they create new names and processes to make more money, to charge for more meetings and BS and get away from what they need to do. I think it's crazy. I think it's really, really crazy. It's really crazy. So here's the thing.
Go ahead.
You beat good teams, you move up. You lose the good teams, you move down. Like, it ain't hard to figure out.
Yes, but by having a quantitative measurement in terms of
so you you took basketball and turned it into a science experiment. So now we're talking about analytics. So now they, like, what happened to just playing? Like, I need to know.
All right, on the two line, Mike, we've got Texas, Arizona, Baylor, and UCLA on the two line.
UCLA, I did see. That was it. Baylor, I did see. Let me take it. Yeah, those two I did. So okay.
On the three line, we've got Tennessee, Virginia, Iowa State, and Kansas State. And on the four line, we have Indiana, Marquette, Gonzaga, and Xavier. And next up, Creighton, Miami, St. Mary's, and UConn. What do you think before I give you some additional notes?
St. Mary's shouldn't even be in there. We know how that's going to end. UConn, I thought they were in the top. Weren't they on the one line at one point?
That was a long time ago.
You know, I like Jay Billis' thought about it. Jay Billis said that if you take it per game, there's not enough change. Well, we put too much emphasis in being number one because if you take college football and the amount of games they play and extrapolate that out over the amount that the college basketball play, there's no way we should still only have 4 number ones in college basketball. It's only been 4 teams ranked number one, where in football it was 3. Mm-hmm. But you playing twice as many, some point 3 times as many games. So the fluctuation between being ranked number one or whatever, that's going to change. But it shouldn't discredit a team that was number one last week and then lost. Like, you're going to lose at number one. That's the difference in college basketball nowadays.
Well, committee chair Chris Reynolds said that conference affiliation is not a factor in seeding or inclusion. We judge each team on their own merits. And also, fans, this will be the lone mock bracket reveal of the season. Selection Sunday is March 12th. And UCLA's coach, Mark Cronin, has some reactions, and I want to get my partner's thoughts on it before we move on. When asked about it, he said, and I quote, "If you ask my one-word answer on the rankings, it's comical. I'm going to try not to laugh." Cronin attributed the Bruins' projected seed to last summer's announcement about UCLA and USC leaving the Pac-12 for the Big Ten. When we left the Pac-12, it cost people millions of dollars, and there's going to be fallout. I had nothing to do with us leaving the league. What you did with the fallout for being a lame duck. Any thoughts to his reaction? Any truth to it in your opinion, or is this noise?
It's just noise. It's noise. It's noise.
Okay. Well, before we move on, fans, again, they're going to play 3 weeks worth of games. It's going to shake itself out. There's always a way to get through this. And if you win, you're fine. So I have no problems with any of the rankings because they told you exactly how they're going to do it, and everyone's mad. And so what? They're doing it this way anyway. So you could be a loud talking head on TV talking about this win, that win. We explained in our previous episodes, this is how they're picking, and be mad because no one cares. You're going to watch the tournament. You're going to make your bets. You're going to get in your little pools, and once the tournament starts, no one's going to care anyway. So, with that being said, these are the teams that they have, and I will continue to irritate my partner with quad 1 wins and quad 2 wins, and that's a bad loss, and that's how it is. And he's shaking his head, and I'm sorry, guys. I didn't make the rules. I didn't make the rules. All right, Mike, Chris Beard is back in the news. The former coach at the University of Texas, in his first public comment since he was arrested, all charges have been dropped. The district attorney has dismissed everything, and he is looking to get back into coaching. I do not know if he is going to sue for his wrongful termination.
Right.
But UT Arlington just had an opening that we discussed. What do you think about Chris Beard? Charges are dropped, but if you're an AD, do you bring him in? Because obviously he can coach.
Yeah, I'm suing somebody. I'm sorry. I got to.
Don't forget why the charges were dropped. So the charges were dropped because his fiance, even though he was, so fans, let me stop. Former Texas basketball coach Chris Beard was arrested and charged with choking his fiance and fired less than a month later when the university said he was, quote, unfit to lead the program. Mm-hmm. The charges were dismissed, so the threat of up to 10 years in prison is gone. And even when the initial police reports documented the other evidence, such as bite marks and so forth, prosecutors had little chance of winning any conviction without a cooperating witness. This is well known in terms of domestic violence cases. So now that you can be refreshed on what happened, charges were dismissed, but he did have a clause of contract about being charged with felonies and things like that. So I don't know if I would pursue that. I might just kind of eat that one and try to get another gig and work my way back up. That would be me. But what do you think, Mike, before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to take it. I mean, you say UT Arlington, but it's going to take more than that because how do you come back from that? That's the thing about it. I don't know if
people have come back from way worse, and I'm advising him. I'm going to say, here's my line. I was not charged in that. But what about that? That case is closed based on the district attorney. So I'm going to go corporate and say district attorney filed no charges against me or whatever. So there's no need for me to address that anymore. All parties are moving forward. And you can say that clean and you're done. And we can say that is a matter that has been resolved within the legal system. So UT Arlington's looking to make a splash. He's a Texas guy. He can get a gig, get some players, and then kind of, because if who's the Auburn football coach that was sent off and now is back? I forgot his name. Is that Hugh Freeze?
Gus Malzahn?
No. He's just got the gig. He was at might be Hugh Freeze because he was at Liberty.
Yeah,
but
Hugh
if
Freeze.
that dude can come back, then
Stop. Next,
Okay.
next subject.
Yeah.
You talk about me. Come on, man.
that guy could get a gig. So I got a problem, Mike, and I hope you don't yell at me. You saw it in the show notes, and you knew we were getting to it. But which schools should storm the court? Which schools? Maryland improved to 14-1 at home, and they beat Purdue, which is a great quad one win, by the way. And the students at Maryland stormed the court. Mike, Maryland has a national championship. Should they be storming the court?
I think from where they could, yeah, you say you're Maryland, but where they've been and through this whole thing that's been going on, I say storming the court is, for the students and everything. It's kind of a sign that they're playing, but I don't know I wouldn't storm the court, and it was more of a fan thing, if you ask me, student thing, which is cool. They grabbing on the whether the happiness they can get coming off a pretty good football season, major sports, lacrosse is national champs. Like you got a lot going on at Maryland, so I could see that. What the underlying thing I see is Purdue's guards are horrible. That's just what I see. Like, as a coach, like, how the hell did they, like, come on, man. They can't guard me.
Well, look, we will get to Purdue's guard play in a moment, but this is what I added to the show notes, Mike. The storm in the court need to be legislated. Sports fans in Florida, it's always in Florida, may soon have a reason to think twice about storming the field or storming the court. According to local media reports in Florida, there are bills being discussed, and one bill in particular, SB 764, is entitled Interference with Sporting or Entertainment Events, was introduced by Republican Senator Corey Simon, a former Florida football star, and if the bill passed, it would make entering a covered area in a stadium or an arena a first-degree misdemeanor with a penalty that will carry up to a year in jail and a $2,500 fine. Is this too much?
Way too much. It's way too much. It makes no sense. You can't regulate everything. It's just greedy people trying to make money off other things. That's what it is.
And
like
Mike,
you can't hire 20 security guards to hold back 10,000 people. That ain't gonna work.
Well, Mike, that was a Senate bill. This is a Republican House bill introduced by Republican Representative Taylor Yarkowski in the Florida House. If either of the bills pass their respective bodies and get signed into law by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, the new law would take place on October 1st. So you might want to check the SEC football schedule.
Man, that's crazy.
Florida has signed a lot of laws recently.
This ain't the show for that. Let's not even go there. You don't want to get me on that one.
Well, let's go back to Purdue to
Thank you.
Close out the segment.
Thank you.
I'm not going to say what my partner said, but I'm going to say their guards are going to cost them an opportunity to win a national championship. So I want to give you a couple of stats, Mike, and I think I have that. No, I do not have the numbers in front of you. But Zach Edey is averaging 22, 12 rebounds, and he's shooting 62% from the field and 74% from the free throw line. So this guy is very productive. Fletcher Lloyd is playing 29 minutes. He's averaging 12 points a game, 1 rebound a game, 2 assists, shooting 38% from the field and 33% from three. Brandon Smith is averaging 30 points a game, and he's averaging 10 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 46% from the field and 41 from three. And Ethan Morton is playing almost 27 minutes a game. He's averaging about 4 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. He's shooting 32% and a robust 26% from three. What are we doing? Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on Purdue's guards. And I just threw a couple of stats together as I would look to scout against them, but they're killing Purdue's chances of winning a national championship.
Yeah, but I think they spending so much time. Like, some of these shots are ill-advised to me. Like, at some point, you got to play through, the big fella. Like,
nobody can guard this guy.
I don't think that. No, they can't. But I think they throw. I think they throw up bad shots. I think that they need to slow it down a little bit, get them involved. When people make them run and try, like, they really get out like they're athletic. Like, I don't understand. Not saying they're not athletic. They are athletes. But I'm saying, like, we got to – your style of play, you have to be able to dictate your style of play. They're not dictating their style of play. That style of play is big fella. Come on, we should be running flex. Just give him a cross screen, something like that. Let him catch it where he can. Let's play through him. But when you start getting up and down the floor, you pushing transition, pull up threes, and not like
can't use them.
No,
can't use them.
He's a non-factor.
He becomes a non-factor.
Yeah, and we come a non-factor. It's like, wait a minute, hold on. Like, fourth quarter yesterday before we started, guys come out the huddle. I always wait till they come out, let Coach Click put it in there, and I said everything has to go through Sean. Sean has to touch the ball every possession now. Your shots will come when Sean touches the ball. Because when he posts up, 4 people crowd him.
And it makes it easier for you to score.
Shots. That's when it's going to be – the open shots are going to appear when you play through him. And we were able to do that yesterday, and we won county championship. So the same thing with him. I think they got to play through the big fella more and let him touch it every possession somehow. I don't care if I don't care if they throw it in and he pushed that bitch back out.
Because he will throw it out of the double team.
Exactly.
He does throw it out, and he's not in foul trouble very often. Nope. He's a very smart player. And if I'm advising Purdue, I'm like, man, if you score 5 to 6 less points, that means you're increasing possessions for him, which is going to increase the 3-point percentage in theory.
Yes.
Because you're going to shoot cleaner threes. Because, like you said, they shoot a lot of non-rhythm three-pointers.
Yeah, non-rhythm
3-pointers.
10 seconds into the shot clock, kind of.
He just getting to the free throw line, and the shot's already up, so he turns around.
Then he got to turn around right back.
He run it back. It's like, use this big fella.
And I ain't no Big Ten coach, but you can't see that.
They can't do a darn thing with
them. My father used to call them happy guards. That's what he used to call them. Happy guards. Happy. They happy they got the ball in their hand. They want to do something with it and then forget what everything that's working for the team. Don't be a happy guard.
Well, we'll be watching a little more detail. But when we get back, we are going to talk about state NIL laws. And yes, Florida will come back up. We'll be right back on the Hot Coaches Podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student-athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Folarin Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams, just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
I don't want you to get it.
Back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 2. Fans, we are trying to educate you on what's really going on. So are state NIL laws helping or hurting? We're going back to the state of Florida. Mike, let me set the table. The state of Florida updated its NIL legislation last week, pulling back on restrictions while allowing universities to provide additional entrepreneurial workshops for their players. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed House Bill 7B, Intercollegiate Athlete Compensation and Rights, into law. And guess who was at the press conference with him? Florida State football coach Mike Norvell and Florida football coach Billy Napier, and players from both schools were in attendance. And let me quote Florida State's athletic director, Michael Alford. And I quote, "This is an important and necessary step in the NIL process to bring us more in line with what is happening around the country. We will always make what is best for the student athlete our top priority."
Who is this?
That's the Florida State athletic director, Michael Alford.
Wow.
So among the biggest changes, schools, teams, and coaches will be allowed to help facilitate deals for players. Under current NCAA rules, schools cannot pay players directly or use name, image, and likeness deals as inducements for recruiting or retention. Governor DeSantis said, and I quote, "In 2020, we took a common sense approach to ensure that student athletes could control their name, image, and likeness and be paid fairly for it. Now that the NCAA has taken necessary steps to ensure fairness for student athletes, we can focus on making sure that those athletes are supported and protected under the law." Mike, in the views of many in the state, those guardrails ended up being too restrictive that they had previously, because the state of Alabama said, we're just going to follow NCAA rules. And that's how they set their law, because Florida was one of the first states to sign NIL legislation into action. And when I saw that in the beginning on the show, we said, don't rush too fast. Sometimes it's best to do nothing. And speaking of doing nothing, Mike, Georgia is in play with NIL. So high school freshman Julian Lewis has already made a name for himself, winning the Georgia State Championship as a starting quarterback, and he has Ohio State, USC, and Georgia among the other 35 scholarship offers. This kid is 15. He's good. He plays for the coach that coached Trevor Lawrence. He's working out with the trainer who trained Justin Fields. This kid is good. But Georgia law says, while more than half the states in the country have legalized name, image, and likeness deals in some form for high school student athletes, the state of Georgia does not. It is home to one of the richest recruiting bases, and other states are allowing high school athletes to profit. Georgia is not, and many Georgia student athletes are leaving Georgia.
I was going to say, get out the state.
So we've got this going on, and we're going to watch this case very closely to see if this kid leaves the state of Georgia for that. So any thoughts on that? Because I did send you some notes, but I didn't send you everything.
You got to lead the state. You got to lead the state. That's all it is to it. You can't just sit back and let this stuff, like, I can't. You got opportunities like that. You should be able to move. It's like, it's free market, right? Why can't I move, change states? Why can't I? I mean, if I want a better job, I can leave. I work for the government or whatever. I want private industry, stuff like that. These multi-million dollars, billion dollars company move their corporations around for tax breaks and stuff like that. Why couldn't this kid and his family move with a relative in another state that allows it until they get their own thing and go from there? Like, it's simple to me.
All right. So, Mike, this all prompted me to start looking through the state of Maryland, because they've made some adjustments. I did send you the actual rule in the chat. So we're based out of the state of Maryland, folks, and student athletes and their families in the state of Maryland may engage or work with professional service providers such as agents and advisors to engage in NIL activities for financial gain, except prohibited by this guidance. The following activities are permissible for a student athlete to financially gain from the use of their own NIL. And this is the state of Maryland, high school student athletes: commercial endorsements, promotional activities, social media presence, product or service advertisements, or non-fungible tokens, NFT. Got to get Will to tell me more about NFTs because I'm not into it. Student athletes must keep their NIL activities and participations interscholastic activities separate. For example, student athletes can't make any reference to their member schools or state bylaws or what have you when engaged in NIL activities. You can't wear your school uniform when you're doing it. And while you're playing, you can't wear third-party apparel, things like that. You also can't mess around with adult entertainment, alcohol, tobacco, cannabis, controlled substances, video games,
Till
weapons.
July 1st.
Not touching any of that. So if you're really interested in learning more about it, we suggest that people look at their individual schools, their athletic directors, their state sports organizations, and do the homework. We're just giving you just some initial insight into that. Mike, before we move on to the Pac-12, any thoughts about high school student athletes and NIL?
I just think it's enough. Like, I had a conversation with my son two weeks ago, him and Tahuti, right before what was the big thing in Dallas or in Texas that they had? Was it what was the big event they just had? WWE
pay-per-view. Go with it.
Okay, whatever that was down in Texas. Oh, the Royal Rumble.
Royal Rumble. There you go. Man, I'm out.
Yeah, we were talking about the Royal Rumble, and we talk about things that happen and how it happens for a reason. But I explained to him and Tahuti that change is not change when it's regulated. I think that you can't regulate something and then say you're doing change or you're doing it for change, because that's not regulation, that's tolerance. So I'm gonna give you this, but not all of this. That's not change. Change is unrestricted. So this isn't really change. You're still restricting kids from doing what they, certain things. So it's like they're your employee. They're employees of NPSSAA. If you ask me, if you got all these restrictions on it, if we talk about change, let's not hold things down for children. And then you say, well, no third party apparel, but then like you take and make all the schools have to sign like Under Armour, Nike, or whatever. Why is that? Why is that? So say a startup company comes along, for instance, my former player runs Tunnel Vision. They're an apparel company. Why couldn't I wear Tunnel Vision apparel? Michael Jordan, he couldn't do Nike at first. We look at it now, like some rules, it's just rules for control. Like he was getting fined every time he wore his own shoe.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I do remember that.
And now everybody wins. It makes no sense to me. Like it's slow changing, and we need to stop restricting things. I understand we have to have rules and policies, but to me, this control thing and that's well, I don't want to use the word, but it still sends me back to 1800s.
Well, as we close this piece out, looking at Florida law, looking at Georgia law, and looking at Maryland's burdening law, but growing laws or what have you, it still goes back to education. And if student athletes and their families and everybody else are not educated on what the law is, then you're going to make bad decisions. So pause, read, review, look for independent voices that are not in a position to gain financially from you. And this is for across the country, and work to make better decisions. But again, when you put people in positions that it's more professionalized, you're going to have a professionalized approach. And genie's out of the bottle now. And speaking of the genie being out of the bottle, Mike, the Pac-12 is in trouble. The Pac-12 is in trouble, and this is some added information. So, Mike, the Pac-12 in some shape, fashion, or form is over 100 years old, but they've gotten big problems. Okay, still don't have a media rights deal, but they're working with ESPN and Amazon. Multiple sources tell CBS Sports that the league is struggling to match its desired value for the 10-team league, and it's south of $400 million annually. That's 40 million per school, and we've talked in the past about what the other schools are getting.
Mm.
The most compelling reason, as it stands, is nobody wants these games.
Mm-mm.
Okay. In addition,
The product
Disney,
stinks.
Disney, the parent company of ESPN, is laying off 7,000 employees. Amazon just laid off 6% of its workforce. That's 18,000 global jobs lost. Alphabet, the parent company of Google, just cut 12,000 jobs. And you trying to get a streaming deal? The Pac-12 will reach the point where all of the windows in terms of regular broadcasting
Mm-hmm.
are filled. So, fans, I want to set you up and remind you that the Big Ten is now coast to coast, and it's on 3 major broadcasting companies: CBS, Fox, and NBC. ESPN has gone all in with the SEC. And you got that 3:30 window that my partner says every week. I don't
It's
give a
CBS
damn
too.
what channel it's on. I'm watching SEC football Saturday afternoon at
Mm-hmm.
3:30.
Mhm.
The ACC, although the deal stinks, is locked into 2036. So I'm locked into a bad deal, but at least I got something.
Right.
It ain't the greatest, but I
Right.
got a contract through 2036. So no matter what, I got a check coming in and it's steady money. And the Big 12 just got, wait for it, $100 million. We talked about it last week. And they got a deal with Fox and ESPN, and they're looking for expansion. And Mike, who are they looking at? Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
Arizona State partners, Colorado, and Utah to join the Big 12. And if Utah joins the Big 12, they already got a traveling partner in BYU. Boom. We already got something. Okay. So what are they going to do, man? And don't forget, Oregon and Washington is sitting there. And you know who wants Oregon and Washington? Big Ten. Because now you could do a 14 quad in the Pacific time zone, and now you got divisions. Okay. And you know, Nike's founder and Oregon benefactor, Phil Knight, has been trying to get out of it.
Yeah.
And you also know that Washington has been kind of looking at the Big Ten because it is the state school in Washington. And Kevin Warren, before he left to go back to the NFL, had called Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and Cal. But remember, Cal loud talked Little Seymour, and they sued and lost. And as a result, if anybody leaves, it ain't gonna be Cal because you can't loud talk Little Seymour.
Seymour Pettigrew.
So who's left? You're gonna have a pack whatever with Cal, Oregon State, Stanford, and Washington State. Maybe
Woo.
San Diego State, maybe SMU, maybe Boise and Fresno. I don't know. But what are you going to do if you're the Pac-12? Mike, advise them, sir, as we close this segment, because it doesn't look good, man.
No, they waited too long, man. They waited too long. Even if, a deal is a deal, it might not be the greatest. Whatever happened to Jefferson Pilot? Maybe they could come back and try to – maybe Jefferson Pilot can help them go out west and maybe help them. They kind of rekindle things. But I think, it goes to the product on the field. It goes to the time zone, time difference. Like, nobody wants to stay up to see them late games. You know what I mean?
We never do.
No, you don't want to stay and see them late games. And the product you put on the field since USC's heyday
Reggie Bush and them?
Reggie Bush and then Marshall
Matt
Falk.
Leinart?
Like, that's
Okay.
the only reason you paid attention to football out that way is because of those guys. So you don't have those names. Your boy is trying to get it going to USC. He's trying to get it.
But he's going to get it for the Big Ten.
Now, but you know what I'm saying?
Colorado has more of a relationship with those other schools in the Big 12 than they do with the Pac-12. And prime time's coming.
Pac-12 that well. And then when he come and that money, you take prime time, you take the Big Ten. Yeah, prime time of the Big Ten. Good God Almighty. You know what I mean? I don't understand. I don't understand why
Yeah,
did they wait so
Colorado going to
late?
the Big 12 would
Yes,
be a big move
but why
because
would they wait so late? Can you explain that to me?
100%. So academically speaking, the West Coast is they have a higher sense of their value than the rest of
You're
the
not an
country
Ivy
does.
League. You're not an Ivy
Okay.
League.
And they're slow. So where the central of the country and the South with SEC and so forth are revenue from sports, they're too cool for the room. And they were blindsided, in my opinion, when USC and UCLA said, "How much did you say?" Yeah, I'm out of here. What do you mean you're out of here? So, yeah, they dragged their feet. And remember, the Pac 12 hired an entertainment person to be their commissioner and not somebody who kind of saw where the room was going. So, give the SEC credit. They saw where the room was going. Give Kevin Warren credit. He got the best deal he could, surveyed the situation, and said, "I'm gonna take that NFL money and I'm getting out of college." And you're seeing people leave college. Jay Wright left college. Okay. Roy Williams, again, age may have something to do with it, but don't be surprised if you see more and more people stepping away from this because it's a lot to deal with. And I might not want to deal with it. And if I get enough checks already, let's roll with it.
Yeah, true.
All right. Well, we'll be right back, fans. And when we get back, we get to talk about the net rankings and what's really going on and projecting how this last 3 weeks are going to go on the Odd Coaches podcast. Stop it.
There is an old business adage that says, what gets measured and monitored gets done. It is also fact that deadlines spur action. That is what the CKA Save Project's academic monitoring service can do for student athletes. Measure and monitor their academic progress to improve their grades. Our academic monitoring services provide ongoing academic support for student athletes for a designated period of time. Our academic success coaches work with student athletes on time management and organizational skills, along with improving their ability to self-advocate. Every few weeks, our academic success coaches meet with student athletes to assess their academic progress as well as provide ongoing academic advising. If needed, student athletes have access to CKA Learning Specialists who provide virtual core subject academic support for student athletes. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free virtual consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast in segment 3, my favorite segment and my partner's least favorite segment. We're going to talk about the rankings. So here are the current net rankings as of this taping. Houston is number 1, Alabama is number 2, Tennessee's number 3, Purdue's number 4, and UCLA's number 5. Highest ranked mid-majors, Mike, St. Mary's is 6th. They're a high-ranked mid-major. Gonzaga's 12th.
Second round.
FAU, who is ranked 17th.
First round.
South Dakota State. No, San Diego State, excuse me. San Diego State is ranked 19th.
First round.
And Boise State is ranked 23rd.
Second round.
Might be first. Okay, so the teams to watch. These are teams on significant winning streaks. Vermont, John Becker is still doing a good job, and he is yet to get that next gig.
Gotta win the tournament. Gotta win this tournament.
Gotta win the tournament. Oh,
gotta win this tournament.
Eastern Washington, Hofstra, Ryder, Toledo. Howard is on a hot winning streak, sir. So go ahead, Kenny. Do your thing. Drake, Northwestern State, and Oral Roberts are all on significant winning streaks on the men's side. Games of the week, Friday, February 24th. Iona is playing at Mount St. Mary's. Patino's kind of close to us, man. I'm not going up there to watch, but shout out to Dan Engelstad. Good luck to you guys as you go against Iona and Coach Patino. And then Saturday night, sir, 10 o'clock in that West Coast slot, St. Mary's versus Gonzaga for all the marbles in the West Coast Conference. And that's going to be a quad 1 win. And the winner of that is going to shoot up the rankings because you got 2 quad 1 teams going head up. You're not nothing, Mike. You got okay. Can we go to the women's side at least now?
Thank you, please.
Okay. The women are much more top heavy, as we tell you every week. South Carolina, what a beating they gave LSU. And my wife's upstairs watched it with her friends, and we're like, what in the world? Now, you got to play them again, but that wasn't as...
It ain't going to matter. It ain't going to matter. The girl, the Cardoza girl, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, young lady, but she had a great game. I think, I'm not going to say it's her coming out party because they knew she was good, but like she made the difference because like they went high-low and they went double post. And rarely do I like to see the double post action. But when they went double post, mid post, like you're in trouble.
In trouble is
that's the smartest thing because you got 2 quality bigs. Like I guess maybe because I never had 2 quality bigs like that to be able to do it. No, but seriously, you got one on this block and one on that block, and the one you threw it to, the other one just sealed. And it wasn't a high low; it was more like a mid post low. Mm-hmm. So you had to guard. Like it was
nothing you could do about it.
No, don't. Oh my God, the coaching staff and the way they got it done was good, and their guard play was exceptional. Very unselfish. Like I see some teams that it's not that way. So hats off to South Carolina women's team and program. Dawn Staley being her authentic self, had her Eagles jersey on. Like she usually she had a HBCU hoodie or something with Black history, so, or something that has a social injustice issue. So again, hats off to her for leading the way she sees fit.
Yes, 100% with that. So South Carolina's 1, UConn's 2, LSU's 3, Stanford's 4, and Indiana's 5. And then the women's side, the highest ranked mid-majors, South Florida's 30, Middle Tennessee State's 31, Columbia is 37, Gonzaga's 39, and San Diego State's 44. So again, it's top heavy. And on the women's side, these are the teams on significant winning streaks, and it's a lot. Liberty, Vermont, UMass, Gardner-Webb, Indiana, Long Beach State, Green Bay, Cleveland State, Princeton, Iona, Ball State, Toledo, Morgan State. Go ahead, Morgan. Belmont, Missouri State, UNLV in the top 25.
I mean,
Little Rock. They don't call it Arkansas Little Rock anymore, Mike. They just call it Little Rock. I found that out this week. Boston University, South Carolina, Jackson State, and South Dakota State. Phew, that's a lot of women's teams on significant winning streaks. That means they're dominating their conferences.
Yeah, you won't see none of them in the tour.
Patting down the hatches. It's going to be tough for them to win this thing.
It is because they play their games at the home site of the highest ranked team in the first round
like
or
that.
two. Like they out. Yeah, you won 17 straight. All right, now go to Maryland. Oh, you won 17 straight. Go to South Carolina.
Yes. All right. So games of the week, Friday, February 24th. It's not a Pac-12 game. Maryland women are playing Ohio State. That's going to be a good one. Ohio State's dropped a couple.
Is that at Ohio State or at
That is at Ohio State. That is at Ohio State. Saturday, February 25th, Stanford's at Utah. I didn't know Utah was a top 10 women's team. They're like 6 now or something like that. So that should be something good, man. And as we close the day, we want to send our best to Coach Chris Mooney. Richmond's men's basketball coach will undergo heart surgery and miss the remainder of the season. Health is first, second, and third with all of us. Coaching is hard. Coach Mooney came into Richmond from the Air Force Academy right around the time I was transitioning to go to Hood College. So he's been there 18 years. And Dave East, who's David Brewster to us, signed to go to Richmond, and Coach was very kind to my former player. But I joked with Dave and said, I don't know if Richmond's going to be a fit for you, buddy, because he's coming from the Air Force Academy and he likes 6 a.m. and you in first period sometimes don't get along. So that might not be. And Dave ended up transferring to Towson. But again, we wish Coach all the best. Get healthy, man. Get healthy. Any thoughts, Mike? Because real life is real, man.
Yeah, Dave explained that he was on Matt Hoffa podcast that I watched. So he explained his whole experience and everything that happened down there. So yeah, it was funny to hear though. It's like, damn. It was funny to hear. But
yeah, him in first period, man. They had
some
arguments.
They didn't get along.
I'm sure you've had some players that had some conflicts with first period, man. We got to talk about first period. We got to restore the relationship, restorative circle.
Yeah, first period ain't, first period ain't it ain't bad as you think.
All right, fans. On behalf of my tag team partner, Coach Mike Francis, I am Dr. Keith Adams. Yes, this is how we try to get players to do stuff without yelling all the time. Saying thank you for listening and/or watching the iCoaches podcast. And we will see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care. Restorative circles.
The iCoaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The iCoaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the iCoaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the iCoaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at iCoaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the iCoaches podcast.